Yeah, another week down. Not a great week record-wise, but saw some things that we learned from that we can use moving forward, and we got to get ready for conference play. Like you said, thank you guys for being here. Not much to talk about Tuesday and Wednesday. Just I thought not to take anything away from Southeastern, but I thought they kind of called us at the right time. I didn't like the way we were moving late Sunday and that super long game, and that's part of it. We had a lot of games early for a reason. And so that's just part of being a professional, and these guys, learning Division I baseball and continuing to bust through. You don't have to feel good to play good, but you're not going to win when you walk a team 20 times over the course of 2 days. And I don't think it was it was a special approach. And they were swinging a lot, swinging and missing, 25 strikeouts, but we just continued to get behind and feed mistakes. Okay, and so it's just not going to win, And, it's just we had to move on quickly, and so I thought we kind of caught our breath. Game 1 at Arlington, thought it was good for us to get back on the road and face a really good Friday night arm. This guy's coming off a really good outing against an SEC opponent in which he pretty much led their team to a victory. And so, we only struck out 3 times, and we had a chance to score really early with the bases loaded in the second, and we didn't. I thought that was just kind of the difference. Broadnack's start was good. I like him a lot. Really competes. I think where he can get better, and we talked about it, and hopefully you see it on Friday night, is just his tempo of being ready to pitch. Not letting them get so comfortable in the box, pitch to pitch, like just being ready to go, kind of setting. You're forcing the issue there. You're in control of the baseball when you're on the mound. But he only walked one hitter. And I thought it was a really good learning experience for Roark to come in again. I really like Roark's presence. Sometimes when it's going bad for Roark, his presence is better than some guys when it's going well. I mean, he's a tough competitor. I really like him, and the guys really like playing behind him and really respect him. And so we need to learn how to win that game. Mentioned prior, leading up to that game was, we're going to have to figure out how to win a one-run Friday night game. And their guy was good. It was nothing overpowering, but you can see where pitch execution really wins. It was multiple pitches for strikes, and he only went 2-0 twice his entire outing. And so, really good player. I really like that guy. Tough Friday night loss. But I liked our meeting, and I liked the look in our eyes after the game. We had a costly error on a drop fly ball, but you got to show up and you got to even up the series. And so, the next day, really liked the fast start. You put up a couple runs there in the first, but we just, we did not make winning plays defensively, and we did not have a winning presence and a winning outing on the mound. 13 hits. That should be more than 5 runs. We left them out there, but you get on your heels. You play bad. Just a bad tempo on the mound, I thought. Not really in control. I did like Tubbs and Dabbs at the end of the game. Dabbs continues to take advantage of his outings, pitches where he can get both sides of the plate out. Dabbs is pretty effective against left-handed hitters, and so I really like that moving forward. He's got to continue to go. Zach White and Mosey both having 3 hits that game. Really, I like what Zach White's doing in the box right now. He's working to do everything we ask him to do. Obviously the load is picking up behind the dish. We got to get better at controlling the run game. I think teams are seeing that. And so we'll work on that this week. Game 3, JC did just exactly what we needed him to do. We talked about winning on Sundays. Whether you're going to win a series, sweep a series, or try to salvage a series. I thought our guys showed up. They had a meeting in left field. After the game on Saturday, that was player-led, and the player that called that meeting, and kind of got into his teammates, he showed up Sunday ready to play, and that was Haggard. That was, I could just see how intentional he was in the box, getting his swing off. He made some really good plays. Defensively, 6 through 9 in the order, had 9 hits. That was great to see. I thought Landry's double, the 2 RBI double, or triple, was really, really good for him. We've stayed on him hard with his swing. When he can execute what we're asking him to do in the box, he is a really, really good hitter. And so his battle is just trying to be consistent with that approach and that swing. And I think he'll get there, and I know he wants to. He's just, he's got to be all in with what we're trying to do. It was good to see DuPont get back going. We moved him down in the 9 spot. Thought he was just kind of nicked up and not really getting his swing off. and him going was really good. You know, he's doing everything he can. And so to get those ABs in there, you know, he had a big hit. It was ruled an error, but I thought that was great for Cade to see that. You know, he's busting through some things, and then Weethorn, you know, power surge out of nowhere. Really liked it. But you know, I made the comment to Coach Lartigue Saturday night. You know, Garrett stepped in there, and it was a F8. You know, he was a little bit late on a heater, but I remember making the comment when Coach Lartigue got back to the dugout. I said, "Man, Weethorn kind of has some intent on that swing," you know, and I kind of liked it. And so, sure enough, the next day, man, he gets his 2 pitches, hitters counts, ready to go, and that was big. And the dugout loved it, and you know, somewhat of a homecoming for Weethorn. He had a lot of people in the stands, and it was great to see. I thought our fans traveled really well to UT Arlington. We were loud, and so I want to thank the fans for that. Very appreciative. And you know, as you said, Emma Grace, Texas State coming up. You know, it's we've played 18 games now, and I think we talked about we understand what wins a game and what loses a game. Okay, and so I wanted a lot of games early for a reason, because you know, I want to be fresh going into these weekends, as fresh as possible. You know, with no midweek this week, I think that's coming right at the right time. You know, some guys battling through some nicks and bruises. This is a chance to heal. Micah Dean was with us on the road, and so we really got to monitor, you know, his return to play protocol, and so he was, you know, getting some swings in, some ground balls. This is going to be a big week for him. We'll ease him back in once he's all cleared with some live ABs in the middle of the week. Jacob Wallace also made the trip with us, and we monitored his bullpen. He's been exceptional. He's itching to get back on the mound. You know, ever since the U.S. took the gold medal in hockey, he's had an chip on his shoulder. You know, just he's Canadian. So really proud of him. I think our teammates are itching and pulling for him to get back. He's been great. He's such a joy. He hadn't thrown 1 inning for us this year, and he's been exceptional. His presence, which is big, and so I'm proud of him. And when he gets back, you know, that'll be a big addition for us. So we're slowly getting back. If you think about it offensively, we really haven't had a full lineup, but 2 or 3 games this season. And so I really like when DuPont and Micah Dean are both in there. Micah Dean can take over a game, and he's ready to get back, and we're ready to have him back. So Texas State, you know, we'll be here. Texas State is good. You know, just kind of what I've just seen watching them on film, pitching-wise, they don't walk you. You know, they'll hit you a little bit, but you know, usually it's just a pick the way they're trying to pitch. You know, they'll get in there and throw cutters at the opposite side and go in hard with fastballs. And so if you're keeping your walks to a minimum, that's an effective way to pitch. I think they're pitching at a 4, which is really good, and they use a lot of guys. And then offensively, watching a couple, just a few swings with some guys, they can slug, all right, and they have some strikeouts, but they will walk as well. And so we have to do a really good job of executing pitches, stuff we continue to talk about. We got to stack up strikes, and we got to make competitive pitches where the hitter has to make a decision if they're going to swing or not. We didn't do that Tuesday or Wednesday. We didn't do that Saturday, and so you know, we got to continue to get better there. And they play really good defense. They have the best fielding percentage in the Sun Belt. Okay, so don't strike you out a ton, all right? And I like how we've been able to move the baseball so far. So this is going to be a really good series of teams trying to execute their strengths. This is going to be a great test for our offense, and I want to see us to go. I want to see us defend our home turf. I think the crowds will be great. We got to catch our breath, as I mentioned. With this, the no midweeks, I think it's coming at a really good time. So I'm eager to see our team. You know, it's time to go. When you bring a really good opponent here in conference play, it's time to go, and it's kind of a reset. We're right here at 9-9, but we're really, you know, what we talked about. We're 0-0. You know, it's a new season, getting ready. And so with that, you know, if you guys have questions.
Coach, as far as this past weekend, you know, mixed up the batting order throughout the weekend and whatnot, it seemed like there was a lot of responses from guys that got inserted into the lineup, took advantage of their opportunity, guys that maybe got moved down and responded like Cade DuPont, like you talked about on Sunday. What does it mean to you from like a mental perspective as far as throughout the course of the season to see guys respond in different ways and the kind of those conversations about where they fit the best?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's just, you know, I think it's adaptability for a player. And, I think that was good. Anytime the bottom of your order can go like that, that's big. And it kind of takes a load off. Like, Bryce Blazer's not going to do it every single game. And, Haggie's not going to do it every single game. And so really big right there, like just Zach White, yesterday, Zach White and Landry and DuPont, and Weethorn, you struggle through that part of the order, and then you turn around, you're back up at the top, and those guys are on base and stuff. It's really encouraging to see. And so DuPont's kind of done it in all parts of the order for the most part. And so, good to see. Still got guys. Dean Hanna, he's still going to find his way in there, try to keep him sharp with a couple pinch hit opportunities this weekend. He continues to working while he's waiting. So it was good to see Randa to get going. I wanted to keep him sharp. That's why you saw him in the DH role, all 3 games. I just mentioned to the coaching staff, like, we got to get Marcus going. And so he's not going to be able to do that unless he's getting 3 or 4 ABs a game. So that was the thought process behind that. And it was good to see him go and get his swing off a few times. So we need him. I like when he's in the order. And so we might continue to see him in that role. But yeah, good question. The guys, I want them to adapt. No matter where they are, it's you step in the box and you're taking care of your at bat. And so one thing I really liked about yesterday was we had a string of 8 quality ABs in a row. And usually you're going to look up, after that 8th AB, and you have a lot of runs. And so obviously that was a 5-spot inning. But yeah, got to keep going, got to keep improving. We'll see some good arms this weekend.
Talk about Micah Dean, how he might be back here in an impending return. As far as putting him back in out in the field, out in the lineup, I guess it's going to be a good problem to have because obviously then you'll have to make some changes. How do you balance, with what guys have been doing right now, especially at the plate, when you mix him back in, and how do you kind of seamlessly keep everybody, as you said, keep them going, keep them engaged?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's, you kind of speak to the adaptability of Jake Haggard being able to play both corners. He was playing a really good first base before the injury happened, and we moved him back over to third, and it was like riding a bike. He made some nice plays this weekend. Going to his left, going in the 6th hole, coming forward on the drag attempt. And so, you just got to move guys around. That's why I like our infielders to just be defenders. Most of the games we play are on turf. So just go defend. Understand the different angles of each position. And, on the corner, I need you to play a little bit more one-handed than up the middle. And then, understand the angles, how they're different respective to each position. And so, I'm going to get him in there, so it's, and Micah Dean can play the outfield as well. So we have options when we'll be ready. That's a good problem to figure out.
Going into the weekend now in conference play versus Texas State, got good starts on Friday night, Sunday from Germany. Both in those well, especially on Friday night, kept you guys in the game as well in a close one. As far as those roles and guys you're looking for on the weekend to step up, I know that was a point of emphasis coming into the season. How is it more as guys have kind of developed and you start to kind of solidify options coming out of that?
Yeah, it's, I think you're going to see a condensed unit going out there as we go, and the games are kind of spaced out during the middle of the week, and 8 to 10 guys that are reliable, let's go. Coach Cox, I thought he had a great talk and message to the pitchers yesterday, like, raise your hand if you've thrown this weekend. Not a lot of hands went up, and so it was great to see Clayton and what he can do. He'll be fine. And good to see Stramiska, who has worked it back and back and back. Had a little bit of a setback, in the elbow area, but I think he's good to go. He felt great yesterday and was, I think he was going to punch me if I didn't put him in the game. And so he was ready to go. And that's going to be, I like those 2 guys out of the pen. I thought Joyner showed signs of something on Wednesday with his fastball. He made a couple tweaks in regards to, his time to the plate. And I think it really helped his fastball become electric, 2 1/3, 6 punches. Like, we need that guy. And so, these guys need to be reliable out of the pen. We got to go, 2 out of 3 quality starts on the weekend. How can we get 3 quality starts? There's a lot of guys improving. It kind of gets overshadowed by, some bad outings, but I think Coach Cox is doing a really, really good job. There's a lot of new faces that only know the way Coach Cox does it, and they're really thriving, okay? And so I need everyone on board. I'll be honest with you, okay? I need everyone all in on that plan with Coach Cox, and, I think we'll see the results clean up a little bit.
I've got to ask about Zach White and this way he's been hitting. You've mentioned it a couple times. Catcher oftentimes is a, bonus
It's been great. He's a tough player. We stay on him in batting practice, and he doesn't have a problem with it. Like, we are on every swing that he takes just because it can be so good. I thought the double that he hit either Tuesday or Wednesday night, during the arena football scores was an incredible, like, just hard hit, very physical. Like, he's got some juice in there. And so, and he's still kind of developing. He's a young player. He's still developing offensively, and I just think he gets better and better. Like, he that he's trying to execute everything that we're trying to throw his way offensively. And so you got to stay on his swing. He understands that. But it's good. He can handle – he does a lot of things well, too, that you haven't seen. Like, I think he can handle the bat a little bit and hit and run opportunities. He's a pretty good bunter. So, like, he is just becoming dynamic offensively. Catchers are never going to run super well, but proud of Zach. Got to keep going. He does a good job of staying physical and taking care of his body, and compliments Aranda really well. But I thought he was pretty good. He is tough to run on when we give him chances to throw people out. And so we talked about we're going to clean up our running game, like holding runners. That's something we're going to tackle tomorrow, over the next, tomorrow and Wednesday.